The emergency alarms screamed through the Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance headquarters as Ambassador Velthara watched the holographic display with growing horror. 3 entire worlds had gone dark within the past week. Not conquered, not occupied, completely consumed. The Vorthok swarm moved like a plague across the Rim territories, leaving nothing but empty space where thriving colonies once existed. Velthara's 6 arms trembled as she activated the galaxy-wide emergency broadcast system. Her species had maintained peace for over 2,000 years through diplomacy and careful negotiation. Now, they faced something that didn't negotiate, didn't communicate, and showed no mercy whatsoever. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her voice carrying across millions of star systems. We face an unprecedented crisis. The Vorthok swarm threatens all civilized life. We desperately need heroes, beings of honor, wisdom, and restraint who can help evacuate civilians and protect the innocent. Please, if any noble souls exist who can aid us in this dark hour, respond immediately. The responses came slowly at first. The elegant Eltarians sent polite regrets, citing their code against violence. The mystical Etherians offered prayers, but no soldiers. The crystal beings of Velta promised to consider the request in their next century-long meditation cycle. Each refusal felt like another nail in civilization's coffin. Then something unexpected happened at Earth's Sol Command Center. Lieutenant Colonel Jin burst through the doors, clutching a datapad with barely contained excitement. "Sir, we just intercepted the most incredible transmission." He practically bounced on his feet as he explained the alien distress call to his commanding officers. Within minutes, the entire human military network buzzed with activity. While other species across the galaxy hesitated and debated and formed, committees humanity moved with lightning speed. Admiral Park authorized immediate deployment. General Kim started pulling together the best combat units available. Colonel Seo began calculating supply lines and logistics. The UN's victory, humanity's newest battleship, received its orders within 6 hours of the original broadcast. Marines loaded equipment with practiced efficiency, while engineers ran final system checks. The ship's massive cargo bays filled with weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and enough firepower to level several city blocks. As the Victory prepared to launch, its crew felt something their alien allies couldn't understand: genuine excitement. Where others saw a terrifying threat requiring careful consideration, humans saw a problem that needed solving and people who needed help. They weren't responding out of duty or obligation. They were responding because someone had asked for heroes, and humanity never could resist a good fight for the right cause. Captain Yu stepped onto the docking platform at Kepler Station, followed by 200 of the finest Marines humanity had ever produced. The sight that greeted them was unlike anything they had expected. The staging area looked more like an art gallery than a military base. The Altarian knights stood in perfect formation, their armor gleaming like polished mirrors. Each carried what appeared to be a crystalline sword that hummed with soft, musical tones. Their movements were graceful, almost dance-like, as they performed what looked like meditation exercises rather than combat drills. Nearby, the Etherian mystics floated several inches off the ground, surrounded by glowing orbs that pulsed with gentle light. They spoke in whispers about harmonizing with the cosmic flow and channeling peaceful resolution energy. Their weapons, if they could be called that, resembled wind chimes more than anything designed for battle. Captain, you watched this display with growing confusion. Are these guys planning to sing the enemy to death? She muttered to Sergeant Park, who was busy directing the unloading of human equipment. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. Human Marines moved with mechanical precision, checking weapons, testing communication systems, and running through ammunition counts. Their gear was purely functional, black armor designed for protection, not beauty. Their rifles were scarred from countless training exercises and previous deployments. Acceptable. Casualty rate for civilian evacuation is 5%, Lieutenant Cho reported, reading from his tactical display. Collateral damage parameters suggest we can level 3 city blocks if necessary to establish secure perimeters. The nearby aliens stopped their meditation practices. The Altarian knights exchanged horrified glances. An Etherian mystic, actually, fell to the ground, his levitation failing from shock. Did that human just say they plan to destroy buildings full of people? Whispered a Veldan peacekeeper, his translator struggling with the concept. Ambassador Valthara felt her stomach drop. She had requested noble heroes, beings of honor and restraint. Instead, she was watching creatures who discussed warfare like farmers planning a harvest. These humans casually mentioned acceptable losses while cleaning weapons that looked capable of punching holes through starship hulls. Perhaps we made an error, she confided to her aide. These Deathworlders seem more dangerous than the threat we face. Captain Yu noticed the stares and approached the ambassador with a friendly smile. Don't worry, ma'am. We'll get your people out safely. That's a promise. Somehow, that cheerful confidence made Valthara even more nervous. The morning briefing at Kepler's station turned into a showcase of galactic culture clash. Major Wan stood at the center of the weapons depot, efficiently distributing gear to his troops, while alien observers watched in growing disbelief. The Veldan peacekeepers had arrived earlier with their crystal harmonizers, beautiful, translucent devices that emitted soothing musical tones. They create harmonic frequencies that encourage peaceful surrender, explained Commander Zilka proudly. No being can remain aggressive when exposed to proper crystalline resonance. The Harmony Collective had brought their signature equipment, gossamer nets that sparkled like spider webs in canisters of what they called dream mist. Our sleep gases induce pleasant visions, their leader had announced. The enemy simply lies down for a comfortable nap until the conflict resolves itself. Then the humans began their equipment check. Rifle maintenance complete, reported Corporal Han, stripping and reassembling his weapon with practiced speed. Ammunition count, 600 rounds per soldier, plus backup magazines. Explosives inventory verified, added Sergeant Kim. Standard fragmentation grenades, breaching charges, and the new crowd control packages. An Etherian mystic floated over, curiosity overcoming caution. What exactly are crowd control explosives? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Private. Lee grinned as he hefted a compact device. These babies can clear a city block in about 30 seconds. Perfect for when you need to relocate large groups of civilians quickly. The mystic's glow flickered and died. He drifted backward, looking faint. Standard operating procedure, Major One continued, addressing his troops. If we encounter Vorthok forces, neutralize them immediately. No warnings, no negotiations. The enemy doesn't respond to peaceful gestures, so we don't waste time making them. Within an hour, the first transfer requests began flooding the command center. Altarian Knights politely requested reassignment to non-human cooperative units. Veldan peacekeepers submitted formal complaints about incompatible operational philosophies. The Harmony Collective simply packed up and moved their camp to the opposite side of the station. Commander Zilka watched the humans conduct weapon drills from a safe distance. They discussed killing like humans on their homeworld, discussed weather patterns. She whispered to her aide. Casual, practical, inevitable. Perhaps that's exactly what we need, her aide replied grimly. Watching Vorthok scout ships probe the system's outer defenses. Perhaps weather isn't enough anymore. The gentle beings of the galaxy were about to learn why Deathworlders earned their reputation. The research station on Gamma 7 housed 3,000 scientists and their families. It should have been a routine evacuation. Get in. Load the civilians onto transport ships. Get out. The Joint Task Force approached the planet with their usual mixed methods. Commander Zilka had prepared her Veldan peacekeepers with their crystal harmonizers ready. Remember, she briefed her team, We must give the Vorthok scouts proper warning before using stunning frequencies. Galactic law requires 3 verbal warnings and a 30-second delay for surrender consideration. The Harmony Collective floated. Nearby, their sleep gas dispensers charged and ready. We shall create beautiful dreams for any hostiles we encounter, their leader announced peacefully. Violence only begets more violence. Sergeant Ree checked his weapon one final time and looked at his squad of 12 Marines. Rules of engagement are simple, he said quietly. Anything that threatens civilians gets neutralized immediately. No warnings, no hesitation, no mercy. The evacuation was proceeding smoothly until the Vorthok scouts arrived. They came fast and silent, dropping from hyperspace directly above the research station. Black, insect-like creatures, the size of fighter jets. They moved with predatory grace toward the civilian transports. Commander Zilka immediately activated her harmonizer, broadcasting the required warning. Hostile vessels, you have violated neutral territory. Please withdraw immediately or face non-lethal deterrent action. The lead Vorthok scout responded by firing plasma bursts at a transport full of families, while the Veldin peacekeepers initiated their formal 30-second countdown and the Harmony Collective began preparing their sleep mist. Sergeant Ree's squad was already moving. Targets acquired, reported Corporal J. Engaging now. The sky erupted in precise, devastating firepower. Human weapons tracked and eliminated Vorthok scouts with mechanical efficiency. No warnings, no delays, no complex procedures. Each hostile contact lasted approximately 4 seconds from target lock to destruction. The entire engagement was over in 90 seconds. Commander Zilka stood in the smoking wreckage, her harmonizer still playing its gentle warning tone to empty space. The Harmony Collective hadn't even finished mixing their sleep gas. Around them, human Marines casually reloaded their weapons and continued shepherding civilians to safety. Mission complete, Sergeant Ree reported over the comm. All hostiles neutralized. 0 civilian casualties. Transport ships ready for departure. The alien heroes stared at the efficiency of destruction, wondering if they had invited saviors or monsters to help them. The humans seemed genuinely confused by their shock. What? Asked Private Nam, noticing the stares. You wanted the civilians safe, right? Proxima Colony represented everything the Galactic Alliance stood for, a peaceful settlement, where 50,000 beings from dozens of species lived in harmony. Families had built homes, children attended schools, and artists created beautiful works celebrating unity across the stars. Now a full Vorthok assault fleet hung in orbit like a dark omen, preparing to consume everything below. The Alliance Emergency Council convened immediately. Representatives from 12 species gathered in heated debate about proper response protocols. We must follow established guidelines, insisted the Altarian delegate. Proportional response only. No permanent environmental damage. Commander Zilka nodded agreement. Our crystal harmonizers can be amplified for planetary coverage. It will take 48 hours to achieve proper resonance. But we can potentially stun the entire invasion force without harming the ecosystem. The Etherean mystic suggested an even gentler approach. Perhaps we could create massive sleep fields. The Vorthok would simply hibernate until we relocate them to uninhabited systems. While the Alliance debated, Colonel Ho watched the tactical display from the human command ship. Vorthok dropships were already entering the atmosphere. Each minute of discussion meant more civilian deaths. Alliance Command, this is Colonel Ho, he transmitted calmly, requesting permission to engage hostile forces. Negative, came the reply. Wait for coordinated response, in accordance with galactic warfare conventions. Colonel Ho looked at his tactical officer. Major Yoon, how long until those dropships reach the main population centers? 18 minutes, sir. The colonel made his decision. All ships, This is Prometheus Command. Operation Steel Rain is authorized. Begin orbital bombardment of landing zones immediately. The human fleet unleashed devastating firepower on the Vorthok forces. But the enemy kept coming, their numbers seemingly endless. "Sir," reported Captain Bay, "conventional weapons aren't stopping them. They're adapting to our attack patterns." Colonel Ho's face remained stone cold. "Deploy chemical deterrence. Full continental coverage." "Sir, that will poison the entire landmass for decades. Better a poisoned planet with living civilians than a clean graveyard." The chemical clouds spread across Proxima's main continent like gray death. The Vorthok advance stopped instantly, not because they died, but because they refused to cross the contaminated zone. 50,000 civilians evacuated safely to orbital stations. The planet they called home would remain toxic for generations, but they were alive. Alliance Command immediately demanded explanations. "You violated every principle of civilized warfare," they accused. Colonel Ho's response was simple. "You wanted heroes? We saved every life we could." The Vorthok Queen's arrival changed everything. Her massive flagship emerged from hyperspace like a black mountain, dwarfing every vessel in the combined Alliance fleet. The ship stretched 4 kilometers, its surface crawling with organic growths that pulsed with dark energy. Sensor readings showed something impossible. The vessel seemed to absorb and neutralize every weapon fired at it. "Direct hit with plasma cannons," reported Captain Kim from the Alliance battleship. "No effect whatsoever. The energy just disappeared into the hull." Commander Zilka tried her most powerful crystal harmonizers. The beautiful tones that had pacified entire species simply vanished when they touched the Queen's ship, as if the vessel existed in a different reality altogether. The Etherian mystics combined their powers, creating sleep fields strong enough to affect entire solar systems. Nothing happened. The Vorthok Queen's ship continued its slow, inevitable advance toward the last populated system in the sector. Alliance High Command faced the unthinkable. After 3,000 years of peaceful civilization, they were preparing surrender speeches. "Perhaps we can negotiate," suggested the lead diplomat. "Offer them uninhabited systems in exchange for mercy." Admiral Tay watched the discussions from his command chair aboard the human dreadnought. Around him, his crew prepared for what everyone assumed would be their final battle. But the Admiral had one more card to play. "Engineering, what's the status on our mining equipment?" he asked quietly. Commander Yan looked confused. "Sir, we don't have any mining operations planned. The special cargo we loaded at Earth," Admiral Tay clarified. "The deep core extraction charges." Understanding dawned on Commander Yoon's face. Those weren't mining charges. They were something the Alliance had banned centuries ago, weapons. So destructive that civilized species had agreed never to use them again. "Operation Cleansing Fire is authorized," Admiral Tay announced. "All ships, minimum safe distance from the target." The human fleet scattered as specially modified torpedoes raced toward the Queen's ship. The Vorthok vessel absorbed them just like every other weapon, pulling the strange projectiles into its organic hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Vorthok Queen's flagship became a second sun. The nuclear detonation consumed the massive vessel in seconds, its invincible defenses useless against forces that converted matter directly into energy. The shockwave lit up the entire system, visible from planets dozens of light years away. In the aftermath, as radiation readings slowly returned to safe levels, the Alliance stared at their human allies with a mixture of gratitude and horror. They had won, but at the cost of everything they believed about civilized warfare. The Grand Tribunal Chamber on Alliance Central Station had never witnessed anything like this. Representatives from 47 species filled the crystalline seats, their forms ranging from floating energy beings to towering rock creatures. At the center sat Captain Bo, alone at a simple metal table, facing what amounted to a galactic war crimes trial. The charges were staggering. Violation of the Weapons Prohibition Treaty. Read the Altarian prosecutor. Deployment of planet-killing devices. Chemical contamination of inhabited worlds. Mass destruction of sentient beings. Without proper diplomatic procedures. Ambassador Velthara shifted uncomfortably in her seat. The same beings who had saved her civilization now faced exile, or worse. The human forces acted outside all established protocols, she testified reluctantly. Their methods were extreme beyond our understanding. Captain Bow listened patiently, as witness after witness described humanity's actions. The Velden commander spoke of humans discussing warfare, like casual conversation. The Etherian mystic described watching Marines reload weapons while standing in smoking battlefields. The surviving researchers from Proxima Colony testified about watching their beautiful world become toxic wasteland. When the prosecution finished, Captain Bow stood slowly. She wore no medals, carried no weapons, and spoke without notes or prepared speeches. Honored representatives, she began, you're absolutely right. We violated your treaties, ignored your protocols, and used methods you consider barbaric. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's translation systems. Now let me tell you what we accomplished. She activated a holographic display showing casualty reports. 3 star systems attacked by the Vorthok swarm. Total civilian deaths under Alliance protection methods in previous encounters, 87%. Total civilian deaths under human protection, 0.03%. The chamber fell silent as the numbers sank in. You asked for heroes, Captain Bow continued. We gave you what heroes actually look like, beings willing to carry the burden of terrible choices so others don't have to. Yes, Proxima Colony is poisoned for decades, but 50,000 families are alive to miss their home instead of being dead on it. She gestured to the alien representatives. You beautiful, civilized species spent 3,000 years creating perfect societies by avoiding hard decisions. When something came that couldn't be reasoned with, negotiated with, or sung to sleep, you needed Deathworlders. The tribunal struggled with an impossible verdict. How do you punish the beings who saved your civilization? How do you reward species too dangerous to trust? Ambassador Velthara stepped off the diplomatic shuttle onto Earth's surface with considerable nervousness. 6 months had passed since the tribunal, and the Alliance had decided someone needed to understand these Deathworlders better. As the being who had first called for heroes, she volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission. Her first shock came at the spaceport. A human child, no more than 8 years old, was playing with what her scanner identified as a domestic canine, a creature descended from apex pack hunters that could tear apart most galactic species. The child giggled as the beast licked her face with a tongue designed for stripping meat from bones. That's completely normal, explained Dr. Kong, her human guide. Dogs have been our companions for thousands of years. We bred the hunting instincts out of most of them. They visited a school where children learned alongside creatures that made Velthara's skin crawl. Spiders, the size of dinner plates, lived in classroom terrariums. Students casually handled snakes whose venom could kill elephants. A teacher explained photosynthesis, while a plant that could digest small animals sat peacefully on her desk. How do your children survive? Velthara whispered. They learned respect, Dr. Kong replied simply. Every human child knows which creatures are dangerous and how to coexist with them. We don't eliminate threats, we manage them. The revelation hit her during lunch at a local park. Families picnicked while birds of prey circled overhead. Children played near a pond where alligators sooned themselves. Teenagers walked dogs bred from wolves. None of it seemed dangerous to the humans because they had spent millennia learning to live in harmony with killers. You're not monsters, Velthara said suddenly. You're gardeners. Dr. Kong smiled. That's a beautiful way to put it. We learned long ago that the best way to handle dangerous things isn't to eliminate them, but to understand them, respect them, and know when to act decisively. 3 weeks later, the Alliance Council voted unanimously to create a new position, Crisis Resolution Specialist. The job description was simple. When diplomacy failed and civilization faced extinction-level threats, humans would handle the situation with whatever methods proved necessary. Captain Bow received the first appointment. Her acceptance speech was characteristically brief. "We'll be ready when you need us." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best guardians are those who understand darkness well enough to keep it at bay.